Well, good afternoon. Ian from Ranking the Obscure again. Um, Welcome to the first non-rock um, ranking video. See, I don't just like rock music. I like all sorts of music. This one's totally left field. It's a band called The Art of Noise. They're a bit electronic. But as I like Jean-Michel Jarre and Mike Oldfield, it sort of slips into that sort of era. They were formed in 1983 by a producer called Gary Langdon, a keyboardist called JJ Jawalskick, Anne Dudley, who went on to do lots of different things, Trevor Horn from Buggles and Yes, and a music journalist called Paul Morley. Weird combination. They're sort of active now, but they're not doing all this because Anne Dudley does a lot of music for films now and etc. But they made 5 albums between 84 and 99. So let's have a quick look at these. With the thing with these albums, there's a lot of good stuff on all of them, and there's some, oh dear, yes, there is some funny stuff on the others as well. There's not one album there that I can say, oh, this is brilliant from start to finish. But I do enjoy what I do. I've got of them. I just skip over what I don't particularly like. Okay, coming in at number 5 is their 1999 album Seduction of Claude Debussy, their 5th album and last album. This is a lineup that featured Trevor Horn, Anne Dudley and Paul Morley, and Lowell Creme from 10cc played some guitars, and we had John Hurt doing narration, and then soprano by Sally Bradshaw and Donna Lewis. Basically, it's the group blended a music from French impressionist Claude Debussy with drum and bass, opera, hip hop to create this concept album, they said, which described the soundtrack to a film that wasn't made about the life of Claude Debussy. So it opens up with a track called Il Pleut at the turn of the century. It's an orchestral piece. The narration's good from John Hurt throughout the album. Pretty good. Then we get the next one, Born on a Sunday. It is an operatic piece. Very moving. Not a bad ditty. Then we get Dreaming in Colour. It's atmospheric, and then it has this dance piece with the sax. Doesn't really work for me. Then we got On Being Blue, operatic, and the narration is intertwining with some drums and a modern drum beat. That's not too bad. Well, I can cope with that one. Then we get this small little narration with some choral. John's voice is terrific, and then you got this jazzy bit all crammed into 1 minute and 19. Then we get a thing called Wrapped in the Evening Air. It's got a good combination of traditional classical music with a modern drum beat. It's okay. Then we get to Metaphors. Starts off right, and then that dreaded thing called rap comes in. Switch off, Iain. Then we get a thing called The Holy Egoism of Genesis, or Genius. More traditional classic meets modern. So you've got this classical theme with a modern drum beat. It's okay. Then we get a thing called La Flûte de Pan. It's a lovely little short piece with flute and operatic singing. Not bad at all. Metaphor on the Floor. More rat crap. Nothing at all. Then we get a thing, Approximate Mood Swing number 2. 2 minutes and 14. Nice gentle piece of music. Really good. Then we get Pause, nice classical operatic short piece. Then we get a thing called Out of This World, and it's just a dirge. The thing with this album, you can't, if you put it on, you put it on and just play it start to finish. But it's not an album that I go back to a lot. I saw when I was doing this, I had to go and have a listen to it, and it reminded me why I don't listen to it very often. Bit different, but it just didn't work for me. Okay, coming in number 4 is their 1986 album, the second one they brought out, Invisible Silence. This has got some interesting bits on it. Opens up with a track called Opus 4. It's basically Anne Dudley saying different things, and she mixes them all together. So it's like a round, but with different voices. Very cleverly done. It is different and it is quite good. Then we have a thing called Paranormia. This is a funky track. It's got a good mix of keyboard and voice samples. It's quite enjoyable. Then we get a thing called Eye of the Needle. It just meanders, doesn't know when to stop. It just keeps going, and there's never an end to it. Then we get Legs. It's a good track. It's actually a typical sort of Art of Noise drum beat. Good keyboard sounds in it. Then we get a thing called Slip of the Tongue. It's just annoying and repetitive. Awful. Then we get Backbeat. It's an okay sort of track, but nothing special. Then we get Instrumental of Darkness. It starts off with a little speech from ex-president Pik Botha of South Africa, and then it's just this drum beat with a keyboard stamp, very repetitive. Then we get the best track on the album, Peter Gunn, featuring Mr. Dwayne Eddy, the King of Twang. Good cover version, always like that track anyway, really good. Then we get a thing called Camilla. That's got a quirky melody with a flute sounding thing. Okay. Chameleon's Dish, annoying. This track just irritates me. 2 seconds in, I have to switch it off. It's awful. Then we got a thing called Beat Back. This is nice tune. It's got keyboards and piano intertwining with a drum machine. The only thing about it, it's just too short. And then to end off the album, we get an extended version of Peter Gunn. No, it's just too boring. It goes on, don't need it. Okay, coming in number 3 is the 4th album from 1989, Below the Waist. There's some really good tracks on this, especially towards the back end of the album. Opens up with a thing called Dan Dare. Nothing to do with Dan Dare. It's boring. I can't really describe it. Bit like the second one, Your Bow. It's rubbish, absolute rubbish. It's just voices and that you can't understand. Then we have a thing called Catwalk. It's an eerie track. Interesting sounds have been put on this one, and it's got a really nice bass guitar too. It's not too bad. Then we get a thing called Promenade 1. It's a short string piece, very nice. Dilemma. Yeah, I can't even describe it. It's just utter nonsense. Then we get a wonderful track called Island. You can imagine actually being on an island in the middle of nowhere. Really good track, very soothing, quite relaxing. Then we get a thing called a chain gun. It's got that metallic drum sound, which I do like. Got some neat guitar work and keyboards, and it's got the African singing. It is a really good track. Then we get Promenade 2, which continues from Promenade 1, another short piece of music that just ends abruptly. Goes straight into a track called Back to Back. Now this is a really good rocker. It's got a nice use of guitars. It's got that feel of the Rock Band and Orchestra sort of thing Metallica have done and Scorpions. It's quite a good track. Then we get a thing called a Flashback. This is like jazz fusion with a twist. Bit quirky, bit different, quite enjoyable. Then we get this song called Spit. There's good and bad about this. The good bit is actually the tune. The most annoying thing is the vocals and then this random shout song going spit. It just doesn't do nothing. Next track is a version of the theme from Robinson Crusoe. This is great. A lot of childhood memories from this, from watching the black and white TV show in school holidays. Always loved this piece of music. One of the best tracks on the album this is. Then we get the James Bond theme. This is a nice interpretation of this iconic tune. Nothing wrong with that. Enjoy that one. Then we have a thing called Finale. This is nice relaxing piece of music by Anne Dudley. Nice way to end the album. Okay, coming in at number 2, their third album from 1987, In No Sense, Nonsense. This has got some good tracks on it. It's got more good tracks on it than bad tracks. Opens up with a thing called Galleons of Stone. This is a very short piece of music, but it's like this horns, very eerie. It's just loads of noises and it is very eerie. Next track is Dragnet. This is the theme from the movie from the same year, and in the middle of it you've got Dan Aykroyd going, I carry a badge. Really good version of Dragnet. Next track is a thing called Fin du Temps. This has got a very, very fast drum machine, very thrash metally drum. Then you get this bit of stabbing of a keyboard, these random voices, and then there's this church organ that appears in it. It is really good. I do enjoy it. It sounds really good under the headphones. Then we get a thing called How Rapid. This is a pointless interlude. It's about 45 seconds worth of rubbish. Next track on the album, Opus for 4. This is a nice atmospheric piece. All the modern sounds, the modern drum beats, and the way that I think Anne Dudley had a lot to do with this one again. She's just a very, very clever lady. Lovely piece. Then we get a thing called Debut. It's a very short piece of music. More like a score from a film, but very good. Then we get a thing called ELF. Hang on, start that again. That's EFL in the even. This is an interesting piece. It's art of noise using voice samples to make up a tune. Very, very clever. Very clever. Next track is Day of the Races. This is another great use of a drum machine with sounds like from their first album. It's got these cars sort of revving up. Yeah, it is good. Then we get a thing called The Ode to Don Jose. Again, very clever use of voice samplings mixing with keyboards. There's one thing about this band, they are very clever at what they do. Very, very clever. Then we have a thing called Counterpoint. It's got a nice choir, short but sweet, couple of minutes long. Then we get a thing called Roundabout 727. This is very confusing. You've got several instruments all playing different tunes. Good job it's a very short piece, because I'll get confused with that one. Then we get a thing called Ransom on the Sand. It again goes back to them horns and the galleons of stone. Very eerie, very, very eerie. Then we have a thing called Roll the One. Very typical 80s dance thing. Not my cup of tea. Then we get a thing called Nothing Was Going to Stop Them Anyway. This is 45 seconds of choral. God knows what's on the album for. Then we get a thing called Crusoe. Nice piece of music. It's got that feeling of the ocean again. Swaying of the waves, etc. Really nice piece of music. And then we get a thing called On Earth. It's got a bit of an Eastern feel. Nice melody. Really good way to end the album. So number one for me is a debut album from 1984. Who's Afraid of the Art of Noise. Opens up with a track called A Time for Fear. Who's Afraid. It's got this voice. I've tried to track down who it is, but it's about military forces. It's a great use of drums and voice samples. Terrific. Then we get a thing called Beatbox. This is a funky thing. Lots of voice sampling. Got great little bits of guitar riff. Enjoyable little tune. It's 8 minutes 33, but it's a good track. Very jar. It's got a combination of jar and Oldfield in that. Very, very good. Then we get a short little thing called Snapshot. It's just keyboard piece, but absolutely brilliant. Then we come to a thing called Close to the Edit. This is the first thing I heard by this band. A friend of mine, he buys weird stuff. And I listened to it and I thought, wow, this is different. Because you've got cars starting up, drums, voices, but it all fits together. And I thought I'd give it a go, and yeah, I did. This is why it's probably my number one album, because it has got some good stuff. Then we get a thing called Who's Afraid of the Art of the Noise. This track gets annoying. It starts off all right, and then you get someone, can I say something? Yeah, can I say something? Stop, this is crap. Then we get Moments in Love. It's a good track, but it's 10 minutes long. Oh, goes on too much. Then we get a thing called Memento. This is not a track as such. It's quite atmospheric. You get thunder and lightning, very similar to the start of Black Sabbath by Black Sabbath. Then you get these footsteps. Then we get the church bells going. And then you get a little bit of someone playing the church organ. It's just very eerie, weird, but different. Then we get a track called How to Kill. It's very Jean-Michel Jarre in places. It's more the later Jean-Michel Jarre material. It's pretty good. I enjoy that one. And Realisation again. It's very short, but it's a Jarre sort of sound. Okay, well that one was a different one. That's why I've called it Ranking the Obscure, because I like to rank stuff that no one else does. Hope you've enjoyed it. It's a bit different, and I'll see you soon very shortly. Take care for now, and don't forget to subscribe. Bye.